This is the PressBox High School Football Show with Booker Corrigan and legendary former McDonough coach Dom Damico. The guys look over everything going on in the world of high school football, both at the private school and public school level. Now, here's Booker Corrigan.
Hey now! Glad to have you. Thanks for making us part of your sports viewing day. I'm Booker Corrigan. He's Dom Damico. And, Coach, we have our order set, but sometimes you got to change things around.
I'm ready.
We're going to cover the WCAC championship, which I great story about sports and how great sports are for high school kids. We have the coach from Dunbar, Lawrence Smith, calling in. They have a huge game. They had a huge win. Congrats to them. What a great guy for taking some time out of his preps. We're going to review the Damascus-Huntingtown game. We're talking a little bit about the Turkey Bowl, and then we'll get into some of the MPSSA playoff scenarios and how they're going to break down. But at this time, we'd love to bring in the head coach for Dunbar, Mr. Lawrence Smith. Lawrence, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule and joining us. How was your Thanksgiving, Coach?
Oh, Thanksgiving was fine. You know, I had some in-laws in town. The players came over. It was a great time. And, you know, it's fine to just relax. When you go through a long season, it's a good time to sit down for a couple of days and just relax.
And, Coach, as you get ready for the next big one, what have you learned about your team and their ability to compete at their highest level?
Oh, I mean, you know, we're young. We're a bunch of sophomores and juniors, but, you know, I got to tell folk, and, you know, I'm going to my 12th year as the head coach of Dunbar. With all the success we had, you know, it's a gift and a curse, because I said that because, you know, when we've been so successful, you know, a lot of times guys get complacent, and when they get complacent, it really hurts us. But we just try to keep driving, and they really done dialed in, and they're real focused right now. So it's everything that we got going on, and then we're ready to roll from there.
Great. Hey, Coach, this is Coach Damico from McDonough. How are you?
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Enjoying life. So, just doing PressBox Live with Booker Corrigan and, you know, talking about high school football. But, hey, we talked earlier in one of our previous podcasts about, you know, your mentor, Mr. Ben Eaton. Can you tell us about him and what he means to you and the Dunbar program?
Oh, well, you know, if it wasn't for Coach Eaton, it wouldn't be no me. I mean, you're talking about, you know, everything that I do, everything that I stand on, everything that I try to, you know, keep the program rolling is all about Coach Eaton. I mean, you know, he was a no-nonsense man of God. He loved kids. He loved to, you know, get our kids to the next level, you know, and he taught me how to do this thing the right way as a head coach. And, you know, I just, you know, love everything that he stood for. And, you know, I sit back and I always say to myself, you know, I just wonder a lot of things I'm doing are the things that he would do. And that's why, like I said, a lot of things I do and the way I move the program is especially because of things that Coach Eaton has installed in me, you know, being his assistant. And to the day, I just still can't believe that he's gone. And, you know, I was, you know, asked to be the head coach to, you know, to follow in his footsteps. And it was just a blessing.
Yeah, it's such a great feeling to have a mentor like that. How do you keep his name alive in the program? How do you talk to your kids about, you know, about Ben Eaton?
Oh, I tell them, you know, I tell the kids, you know, we have a saying, we have in our weight room, we have one of his quotes, you know, he's always say was, you know, pain is weakness leaving the body. And then, you know, the kids got a big picture of him in our varsity locker room. And then each year we play for his trophy. And I always tell the kids, you know, I used to tell the kids that knew him, they knew what it was about, but I always tell the kids coming into that game of with Emerson each year, which is the Ben Eaton Classic, of who Coach Eaton is and what he meant to the program and who he was. So I always instill in the kids, and, you know, we call it, you know, everybody now we know, and, you know, Coach Damico, you know, we know you're a guy that like to throw the ball around, you know, and a lot of everybody do it now. You know, we're a spread team now, but we still, you know, are powerful up front, and you call it Benny ball after Ben Eaton. So we got to stay powerful up front, and he'll always be a part of the makeup of the program, especially as long as I'm in charge.
Coach, that's great to hear. We have Coach Lawrence Smith from Dunbar joining us here on the PressBox High School Football Show, brought to you by the U.S. Army, Glen Burnie Transmissions, and Wise Markets. Thrilled to have them, and also thrilled to have Coach Smith. Coach, big game coming up. How are you going to control the emotions of your young men so that they don't go cuckoo?
I mean, exactly. when you always pull up, you used to pull up the M&T, but now when you pull up the Navy, the kids see the big stadium, they get pumped up, and you got to tell them control the emotions, understand, because now you're dealing with referees that don't know you, and you're dealing with the emotions of the state championship, and I always tell them the first two drives are always the emotion drives. Kids play outside the box, kids do things they don't usually do on both sides, but after those first two drives, it's time to play football. The best team that's prepared is going to win, and, you have to control the turnovers and the clock. So once we, the emotion go through and the national anthem and all the music and everything and the howling and screaming on both teams, it's time to play football. So that's where we just got to try to always control your emotions and do what you got to do and sit down and try to execute your game plan and hopefully come out with a victory.
Yeah, no doubt, Coach. I was actually looking at the scores, and, Fort Hill normally is just, a real power in the 1A, and Catoctin kind of beat them 41-0 with a running clock. So what are you expecting from Catoctin?
I'm expecting, a power football team. They run a lot of different sets. Me and my coaches, my coaches do a great job of preparing for teams, and, they already started watching film on them on Saturday night. And, they run a lot of different sets, power football, things like that. So, what we always going to try to do when we play teams, we're going to try to, exploit the one-on-one, try to get some of their kids on maybe on some of our better athletes and let our athletes do what they have to do and try to slow them down, know they run, clock controlled offenses and try to get them in long downs and situations that maybe they're not used to. When those type of teams are in short downs and moving the chains, that's what they want. But when you try to get teams like that behind the sticks, it usually try to get them to do things that they're not used to doing, and that's what we're going to try to do.
It's the voice of Lawrence Smith, the head coach at Dunbar. He's got a big championship game coming up. Coach, one of the things I always talk about when we're on this show is that high school coaches are in the business of helping young men become the best possible version of themselves. Who are some guys on your team that you've been impressed by their growth this season?
Oh, I mean, when you're talking about, my 3-year captain, Dion Cruz Harris, he's a workhorse. He squats 600 in the weight room. He benches 330. He's, always the first guy in the weight room, at practice doing what he has to do. John Thomas, you're talking about, he came on. He was a lineman on the state championship team 2 years ago, and, he wanted to be one of the senior linemen this year. You're talking about Joshua Carr's defensive end. And then, we have some younger guys that's coming along. When you're talking about, we have a sophomore quarterback who's really taking the reins and trying to be a leader that's rocking and rolling in that, with our whole young receiving core, they're all sophomores and juniors. So those guys is really like taking the role of leadership, but it all starts with Dion Cruz Harris, who's been our senior leader, along with Nicholas Simpson, who's our middle linebacker, is also a state champion wrestler. So those guys are gritty. So, they're hard-nosed guys, so they really want the team to follow behind them and be that workhorse, and that's exactly what they do.
Well, great, Coach. Well, I really appreciate you calling in the show. Good luck Saturday, 3:30 at Navy. We wish you well.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Great to have Coach Lawrence Smith join. He did make one mistake, though. That young man who squats 600 pounds, I would have preferred if he said that he and I squat a combined 600 pounds because I could do none and he could do the other 600. He's a great, great coach. And they got a big game coming up, and we have a break coming up. On the other side of this break, Coach Damico is going to reflect on a story that happened last weekend, and it's one of those things that's just a fabulous part of any level of athletics, but high school especially, because this is something where it's going to springboard a young man. He went from the outhouse to the penthouse, and it's a fantastic story. We'll be right back. This is the PressBox High School Football Show.
Need groceries today but don't have time to shop? Order online with same-day pickup or delivery at Wise Markets. Wise to go online. Now that's convenient.
This is Stan the Fan for Glen Burnie Transmissions, located right in the heart of Glen Burnie for almost 60 years. If you suspect you're having a transmission problem, GBT can save you hundreds of dollars over taking it to the dealers for a repair. Make an appointment for a free diagnostic and estimate. Call GBT at 855-728-1841. Their mission is simple: to provide excellent service at a reasonable price. Go to their website at gbt-online.com to check out all of the 5-star reviews news. Let my friend Mark Schwartzman and his GBT team take the troubles out of transmission troubles. Call them today at 855-728-1841.
Respect. It's more than a word. In the U.S. Army, it is one of our core values, earned through selfless service to our nation and making a difference both at home and abroad. On the Army team, respect is earned daily. And now, in addition to earning respect, you may earn up to $40,000 in bonuses if you qualify. To learn more, visit goarmy.com/bonus or call 1-800-USA-ARMY, paid for by the U.S. Army.
And we are back at the PressBox High School Football Show. Thank you so much to the U.S. Army, Glen Burnie Transmissions, and Wise Markets for making this possible. Thank you for making us part of your sports viewing day. Booker Corrigan alongside Dom Damico. And Dommy, we've known each other, 25 years?
Yeah,
and we did some pre-show prep, and you told me the story. And everybody likes to be the smartest guy in the room. So I'd love to tell the story, but it's not my story. It's your story. You found it. You dug it out. And it was an event. Take us through the teams, the situation, and how it unfolded, because you're not going to want to miss it.
Well, at the WCAC championship game last week, I kind of, reading much of the articles and kind of following along, and Good Counsel beats St. John's 16-14. But there was a senior kicker from Good Counsel. His name is Vince Arago. During the game, Good Counsel.
Well, he started a soccer player. Let's go all the way back.
All the way back. Well, he was
our
a soccer,
listeners deserve to know where this kid came from. He's not a football player.
No, soccer player all of his life. And then the head coach's son, who's also a senior on the Good Counsel team, they needed a kicker. So he goes to his friend and convinces him to try kicking footballs and goes out there for a tryout. And, comes back and the dad says, "How's he doing?" "Well, he's not accurate, but he's got a really strong leg." And, similar situation, I'll tell you that I can get into about at McDonough with a kicker that I had. But to finish this story out, he starts out novice kicker, he goes through the season, and then in the championship game, the score is 14-7. Good Counsel scores. The extra point ties the game late in the fourth quarter, and Vince misses it. And he walks off the sideline, and he's standing there, and I guarantee you what's going through his head is for the rest of his life.
Why did he ever do it? First of all, why did he ever sign up for this stupid football? I hate
why did I sign up for this?
Kids react a lot of different ways. So right now, he is the scapegoat.
No doubt. And it's going through his head, and then through the mercy of God, somehow Good Counsel makes enough plays to get him another chance. There's a long 56-yard screen. They run it down with basically seconds left on the clock, and the kid has a chance to kick a 32-yard field goal to win not only the game but the championship. He goes out, drills the kick, jumping all around on the sideline, and wins the game. That Good Counsel ends up winning the championship. But I kind of think about it like this: that kid put himself in a situation.
Yep, took a risk,
and 25, 30 years from now, you go back to the reunions or see him in a restaurant or a bar, and he could have been known as
the guy who missed the extra point.
Yeah. There's Vince. He cost us the championship. He's the guy that missed the kick.
All he had to do was make an extra point.
That's it. However, he gets redemption. He makes the kick. For the rest of his life, wherever he goes, reunions, parties, family, he's going to be known as the kid that made the kick to win the 2019 WCAC championship.
And if he makes that extra point, they might go into overtime, and all of a sudden he doesn't even get a chance to do a thing. So it's such a great story. I got goosebumps that time. At first time in prep, you didn't tell it as well. At show prep, you didn't tell. You rose to the occasion there, Coach. I appreciate it.
Well, I could just see myself as that kid. 25 years later, sitting at some table as a reunion where Good Counsel's asking for money to build some new baseball field or some new goal post or something. And there's Vince sitting there, and guys are walking up and hugging him and meaning it. It's going to be burnt in those kids that played on the team's memory, but it changes Vince's life. It really does. And so for the next 25 years, he's going to enjoy that kick.
And we didn't reveal the name in prep, but you said you had a similar scenario at McDonough. I have a feeling I know this young man's name because I coached him in middle school basketball, and he was terrible. He was a great part of our basketball team.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. A kid, he played soccer and baseball at McDonough, and I was home in Philly and reading the Philadelphia Daily News, and the Temple coaches were still in the market for a kicker, and they had a scholarship available. So I called Ray Monica, who was the special teams coach and recruit at Maryland, and brought him down, and he watched Cap Klemba kick balls inside of McDonough's field house. And just from watching him kick a few balls, and I telling him and watching the tape of him kicking the ball out of the end zone, scholarshiped him. And Cap played football for 1 year. He goes to Temple, and he turned into one of the all-time leading scorers in the history of Temple football. Got his education for free, and to top that off, at the basketball games, all home games, there was a guy painted in red that stood under the basket cheering for the basketball team, and it was Cap
He's the star kicker, all-time leading scorer, and he's painting himself in red, so every time you see somebody with their face painted, their body painted, that might be the all-time leading scorer in another sport. Don't think, because I used to lead some cheers, too, at Roanoke, and I still hold a record down there, too, for the hockey squad, so that's good. But also Devin Barclay. It's another guy. He kicked some field goals for Ohio State, and he was clearly a soccer player.
Yeah, he never kicked for me at McDonough, but he was a soccer player at McDonough, and then he walks on at Ohio State, and he's kicking in the Rose Bowl. It's amazing stories
in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, crazy. Back to the WCAC again. The last kind of tidbit on that, but there's about 10,000 schools in the country that play high school football, and the WCAC has the 9th, 36th, 45th, and 100th ranked team in the country, all in the same division. You want to talk about elite football? There is not another conference in the country. Now, there's some in California that got 1 and 2, but that's just an incredible number of teams playing at that level in this local area. It's incredible.
I was going to say, in this area, we're blessed with a lot of great high school football, and that's why we're able to do a PressBox high school football show. If you can't watch the show, make sure you pick up a hard copy of the PressBox print edition, because they do great stuff in there every time. My man Luke Jackson does some contributions there, right? Yeah, he's my putt and pusher. He makes you look good, by the way. He does. He puts like a high def thing on you. You look like you're about 180 pounds, 172. What are you tipping at right now?
After that Happy Meal last night, about 198. But
after Turkey Day,
I'm a Happy Meal short of 200.
Yeah, we talk. A couple cupcakes shy. So back Damascus, big win over Huntingtown. We're going to get to that in a moment, but let's talk the 100th Turkey Bowl. It unfolded. Calvert Hall again, but it wasn't a cakewalk.
No, it wasn't. 33-10 Calvert Hall, but fairly easy sledding for Calvert Hall. It just goes to show you those 4 teams in the top of the A conference are tough, and you could see why Loyola kind of stepped down. Even with building the program up to where it is today, they still got beat pretty handily by Calvert Hall. So I think Loyola's making up ground. They're close. It'd be interesting to see what they do next year if they want to get involved in playing in that A conference. Kudos to Donald Davis, is now 10-3 in the Turkey Bowl games, becoming the all-time leader in wins in the Turkey Bowl for Calvert Hall, passing 2 legendary coaches. Donald's won 10 of the last 11 Turkey Bowl games, and the Cardinals look great. I watched the game live stream on my iPad up in Philly when I was visiting my mom, and the Cardinals had 445 yards of offense and another big game from Sean Tucker, the Syracuse running back commit. On defense, Mike Johnson and Khalil Glover both had 8 tackles, and Trey Jordan had 3 tackles and a forced fumble. So great job all around. All three aspects of football, Calvert Hall dominated. Congratulations to Calvert Hall.
Let's get into the MPSSA. And I talked a little bit about the Damascus win over Huntingtown. I know that they have the guy who's on defense who's just tremendous, but it was a team win over a good Huntingtown team.
Yeah, I heard the quarterback got knocked out late in the game, which obviously changes the game. And, so Damascus is very good. 21-14, close game. I was following it online, and it was really, a 14-14 game late in the game. And then Huntington Town scores a late touchdown. And Damascus kind of holds on 21-14.
Yeah, my man Rex Rayleigh got pulled up from the JV to come watch that game for Huntington Town. Let's talk about some other ones. Linganore over local Mervo. Bummer.
Yeah, bummer for Mervo. Mervo had such a great year, undefeated all year, and Linganore is just a great football program. So we're going to get a Linganore-Damascus final, 3A final at Navy Marine Corps Stadium. Mervo really fought back and forth game. I was following it play-by-play on Max Preps Live, and at one point I thought Mervo had the game, and Linganore comes back, makes one more big play than Mervo did to seal the win for Linganore.
And then you got Middletown and my man Brian Walker. getting after it, going into the state championship game, headed down to Navy to play in that huge stadium. So that'll be a big moment for those kids. Middletown doing a great job all year, though.
Yeah, Middletown's a solid football program, 31-27 over Elkton. And, we talked about Elkton a bunch on this show, and they had a great season. No reason to hang your head at Elkton. They had a great year. Middletown's going to go to the championship game, playing Potomac Saturday at 7 o'clock at Navy Marine Corps Stadium. And the other 2A winner was Potomac 16 over Newtown 6. So it's going to be Potomac in Middletown Saturday at 7 o'clock.
I was looking in the Baltimore Sun the other day about the scores, and I saw Newtown lost, and I was like, that's one of our locals.
Yeah, Dunbar's the only local that made it through, and we talked to Coach Smith, so, he's going to have to pull the weight for the local teams in the state championship.
Yes, he is.
But Dunbar, again, they crushed Cambridge 45-0, and they had a running clock in the second half of the game. But Dunbar, again, Kareem Moore, quarterback, just kind of rounding into form as a sophomore, 4 TD passes, and really, I know Coach Smith is really proud of that offensive line. He mentioned a few of them, but all 5 of them, I think I want to shout out to Keith Foster, Derek Massey, John Thomas, Davon Davis, and Tyreek Sterrett played a great game, and they had a great season all year long. And they'll play in the championship game Saturday at 3:30 to try to win another state championship for Dunbar.
A great week in high school football and the championships. We'll be back to recap them on Monday. Dom, great work. Love you. Happy Thanksgiving. I had my best Thanksgiving ever, so I'm certainly
little Aunt Helen's ham or no?
No Aunt Helen's ham. No ham. But I did have my Thanksgiving dinner consisted of 4 jumbo shrimp and half a crab cake.
No,
not exactly what the Pilgrims had.
That's a different deal.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep it light, because I'm still anorexic, so I'm still trying to keep the weight down. I'm at 183. For those of you keeping score at home. Thanks so much to my man Action Jackson doing the knobs, Dom Damico. I'm Booker Corrigan. Thanks for making us part of the PressBox High School Football Show. We will see you in 1 week. I got to remind you, though, you only get one shot at today.